looking at this game, I think that week 16 game is just so hard to draw too much from. You know what I mean? Because Washington turns it over 5 times, still wins. I mean, they're down 2 scores late in the third quarter. Gonzo was nails when he needed to be. Saquon had the 68-yarder in the first quarter. We've talked about how Saquon was outrageous, and then they slowed him way down. You did have Kenny Pickett in that game and not Jalen Hurts. But honestly, I don't know. Hurts as a runner is elite. I don't know what he is as a passer. And I think, kind of similar to what it was in Detroit, just get on the board, score, and then the pressure is going to start to switch.
Yeah.
If you can score and be opportunistic and try to create turnovers, man.
Yeah, I think it's a bit in this game, man. It's more about what do we do? Okay, what does Washington go out there and do? I think if they go out there and handle their job and their business like they've been doing of late, they don't have to worry about what they do. You'll pressure them. And I look at a stat yesterday. See, we keep talking about Jalen Hurts passing the ball and things like that. Jalen Hurts has averaged 134 yards passing in their playoff games when he's around, and they win a lot still. So you got to be able to mess with something else instead of him, because his passing hasn't been very, very potent anyway. So you got to make sure if his running ability, where all of a sudden you think he got something, then boom, he'll break out and get a first down. That is a problem.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think with Hurts, dude, he's been bad. He had an absolutely fantastic season in 22, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Chiefs? And he was great in that game, except for a first half fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Clean sheets are going to determine this thing, dude. Like, look at the Ravens game. The Ravens were fantastic. Everybody wants to make it about Mark Andrews. You had two first half turnovers.
Yeah, but you overcame that. You still put yourself in a position.
The team with the turnovers loses, whoever it is. Every single game in the divisional round, it was the team with the turnovers that lost, and the team with the clean sheets won, period. And that has to be – that's how Jaden plays. He protects the hell out of the ball. That has to be like a paramount focus this weekend.
It has to be, but you can't have a turnover and win a game. So that's I'm saying, like I always say, it's when the turnovers happen. Early one in the first half, you can overcome that. If it comes late, you can't. So if you're going to have one, it better be early where you can mount something back. If you can't wait late to do it, because that will destroy a team. You have momentum going, and you have one that kills you.
You saw that with the Rams last week.
Exactly.
Philly.
Exactly.
It's remarkable to think. I mean, Washington. It is so hard to draw a lot of estimation from that Week 16 win over the Eagles, because, Brian, you just said you can't have late turnovers and win games, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that game where they came back to beat them, even though they were down 2 scores in the fourth quarter, Jaden threw a pick with 2.5 minutes left.
Yeah,
it's crazy, dude.
And then they got the ball right back.
They had 2 second half. They had 2 second half turnovers in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the 3 in the first half. I mean, that game was so nuts and really so fun, I think, for a lot of fans to come back and beat Philly, and then they do it again to beat Atlanta the following week. You don't allow that to be your blueprint. A real question, B, what do you feel best about for Washington going into this thing, and what makes you the most nervous?
I feel best about the fact that they are playing damn good football right now in multiple aspects of the game, not just offense. Defense has done some timely things, special teams. Look at the game on Saturday night. Special teams was kicking the ball, Charlotte goal line
on purpose,
and we're tackling them inside the 20, inside 25. So when you begin to look at that, we had 70 yards to go most times. They had 70 plus. They had 81 yards to go on one time. So you started looking at that, and that field position game begins to play into your to your on your side, give you a better chance. What I worry about is the running game of our Philly. I worry about that, but if our offense play like they're capable of playing and have them long drives and do things they've been doing, it puts pressure on them. We watched how well Gibbs was running. They had to come out of that. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder if they had to or if they stupidly did.
Well, they had to.
Either way.
When it's a natural thing. When you putting up touchdowns and you're down by 2 scores, you're not going to keep running the football. I don't care who you have back there. You're going to start throwing the ball.
He's averaging 8 yards a pop.
Yep. So they're going to throw it because they feel they want to try to get 20, 30 yards a pop. Like they always say, don't try to get everything back. They tell quarterbacks, don't try to get everything back in one play. You know what offensive coordinators do all the time? Try to get everything back in one play.
Yeah. I mean, hell, a wide receiver double reverse throwback. that's not exactly, taking your time.
Exactly.
For me, if you're asking what do you feel best about, it is undoubtedly Jaden Daniels. What he is accomplishing, what he has become in this league, the conversation surrounding him. We don't need to get too far caught up in whatever our arbitrary rankings and all that kind of stuff, but he's an absolute star, unafraid of the moment, and playing at an elite level. To ask me what do I feel best about, it's Jaden. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't other things. I think you have a +6 turnover margin in the playoffs after 2 games going into the NFC title game. You got to really like that. What gives me a little pause is Philly also has a +6 turnover margin going into the NFC title game. What am I most concerned about going into this game? It's the trenches, honestly. I think, we kind of joked about that graphic that the dude from WIP made where he thinks Philly has advantages at all these positions. The only spots I really agree with him are the O-line and the running back. Mm-hmm. And frankly, one spot where I disagree is he has the Eagles D-line just a hair ahead of Washington's. I think the Eagles D-line is fairly significantly ahead of Washington's, and what Jalen Carter is doing. And then you combine that with the fact that Cosme's out. I thought Trent Scott played pretty well last week, but the ask begins to be a lot. And Brian, we saw
in the league a while. That ask is what they got to add. They got to, and the thing about it, one guy, Cosme wasn't going to block Carter by himself.
No,
they're going to have to double him.
I agree, but my counter to my own concerns, I guess, is I think we've heard DQ talk about it. Maybe Cliff will talk about it again. Don't worry about the run game. If it's not there, don't concern yourself with the run game. Go to that short passing attack and let that be your run game. They did that early in Detroit because Detroit was playing that little soft zone, and they just carved them up. They were able to go up and down the field, and then Detroit countered, and then they were able to run the ball pretty well. I would not – I don't expect this, frankly, but I don't want Cliff to get into some we're going to prove our toughness thing and just try to establish a run early on.
I think Cliff hadn't worried about that all year.
I do too.
I think we as fans, the problem, and that's why I get so pissed off about the analytics world, because fans are talking so much about what doesn't really matter. You're winning games the way you're doing it. But we talking about, they didn't run the ball. Who cares? As long as you win the football game. The main goal in all the sports is to win. And they are winning with short passing, and they're winning with Jaden running sometimes. But they still keep you thinking about the running game. And that's what you have to do. If you completely forget about it and just start doing other stuff, you are playing into the hands of a defense. But if you're not necessarily getting the 4 or 5 yards to carry, wow, you're still scoring touchdowns. You still have long drives. And I think that's what he's concerned about. How can we get from one point to the next? And if he keeps being like, I want him to stay like that. Don't change. You got to prove nothing to nobody.
Only thing that matters is moving the football, getting first downs, chewing up the clock.